This is TWiT.
Google did not have a very good quarter. Yeah. It's interesting. We were talking on Windows Weekly about Microsoft, which had an excellent quarter, and you know, lots to celebrate until Paul mentioned, but by the way, with Google's terrible quarter, their revenue far exceeded the total revenue of Microsoft, their revenue in advertising alone. So that puts it a little bit in perspective. Google said it may be the war, I don't know, but digital ad sales down quite a bit.
YouTube was hurting badly. So that may be TikTok?
Maybe from TikTok. YouTube ad revenue, which the analysts had thought would increase 25%, only increased 14%. See, this is the problem with this. It's a miss, but it's not a drop.
It's a lot. It's still
also, a lot.
Isn't it Apple's, when Apple stuck in the do not track me
it could be.
code.
It could be.
Part of that too. Although I think YouTube suffers less than that because they feed people.
They're first person. So first parties, in fact, benefit from Apple's ATT because ATT means you can't track people as a third party. Google doesn't need to.
Yeah, that's totally true. They are the first party.
They're the first party for everything you do. Although I thought it was interesting, after all the time we've talked, we had Richard Gingras on to talk about Google AMP. Jeff, you know, I was not a big fan. Jeff tried to explain why it was a good thing. Google's AMP seems to be now it's losing ground. It's over.
Yeah.
Which is surprising.
Well, because you know, and fine, you can complain about what I was there when it was first discussed with the newspaper industry and the news industry, and one of the Google executives who was there, not Richard, just said, "You guys are never going to trust us to do this. Yeah, you need
That's
this.
what happened.
But you're not going to trust doing that." And that's what happened. They tried to make it open source, but it never fully was. But the truth underlying was still the case. Media companies effed up the web miserably, threw all kinds of crap
That's true.
Editorially, plus the ad departments and the technology departments, just horrible, slow, miserable, rotten, irritating pages. So there was a need for an AMP. That wasn't the Messiah to be had, I guess.
And I think that generally people had the attitude, oh, it's just a land grab from Google. It doesn't
really wasn't, because it wasn't. That's the thing. People assume Google has these land grabs. They got plenty of land.
Right.
Like they don't need news. They don't need AMP. they got plenty of land. But it didn't matter.
It solved a problem for Google. I think it didn't solve enough of a problem for everybody else in the way it was implemented.
Well, and that was the real problem was, the newspapers weren't seeing the revenue. It was hiding who was looking at their stuff. Google was getting all that information, not the newspapers. YouTube advertising revenue, $6.87 billion. Wall Street's mad because they thought it would be more. Sounds like it's per quarter. Yeah, that's important to say. Per quarter.
And they were fools to have bought it for, what was it, $1.6 billion?
Yeah. No, it's definitely generating for them. They've announced they're going to start putting ads on YouTube. What do they call it? The Shorts. Their competition with TikTok.
Oh, that's that new thing.
Yeah, it's their TikTok.
I haven't figured that out yet.
And it confirms, I think, what some of what you just said, which is TikTok must be hurting them a little bit. Ad growth revenue slowing, but not shrinking. Google told shareholders, YouTube Shorts is doing great. Don't worry about TikTok. It's not all about TikTok. Let's see. That was a headline from TechCrunch. Ruth Porat, the CFO, said the slower rate of growth is more a reflection of last year's unprecedented gains. That may be true, too. I mean, even Netflix, which had a terrible quarter, but that was coming off of a gigantic growth through pandemic. Maybe that's the thing. Ad revenue in 2021 Q1 had increased 49% on YouTube.
That's not
reality is now competing with YouTube. You can go out and do real things. Go into concert halls.
We can go out
see people. So
right, that too.
Competition from reality hurts YouTube revenues. That's a good headline.
Right. I hardly used YouTube. I felt like for general viewing before the pandemic, and now I feel like it's kind of the first stop that we put on the agenda, partly because we watch a lot of UK TV shows that are available through it, but also it just it has gotten to know us maybe a little too well. Although my 15-year-old and I joke all the time. We were watching something last night, and the ads that threw up were like, "I don't need that medication. We're not investing in that. We don't buy cars like that." And we're like, "Oh, this is good." YouTube completely doesn't know who we are. Like whatever they're doing for personalization, they've gotten us totally
You know what I
wrong.
find interesting, though,
Great.
Glenn? That's exactly the same ads I get on CNN. So
interesting.
it's the same advertisers. It's big pharma. It's automotive.
Yeah.
And actually, in a way, that's a real story because for a long time, digital, and I know this from podcasting, was looked down upon by brand advertisers. They said, "Oh no, you can't do brand advertising on digital."
Scale.
Yeah, at scale. Yeah.
So, by the way, back to your point though about YouTube, there's a paper that just came out from colleagues at CUNY, by the way, and others, that debunks the YouTube rabbit hole argument, and says that the worst stuff is viewed little by few people, and they come to it not from the algorithm; they come to it from outside links.
Oh,
It's just a serving platform for the far right, which is interesting too.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
Research facts.
Oh yeah, that's I don't. Is that
Data?
facts? Is that facts? I don't know.
It's researchers.
Okay,
Jeez.
must be true.
Better than us.
Well, it's better. Yeah,
Gatherers.
I mean, my empirical research is Google's best known for bikini-rich content, but that's just me.
Well, that's your problem.
I never see any of that. I don't know what you're watching, man. 'Cause,